have the guts and the moral fortitude to get up and say, yeah, I was wrong. Here's what I believe now. I think that takes a great deal of courage.
Well, that's, I don't know how much courage it takes, but that's certainly what I've done. I think that I was intentionally shown documents when I was in the Office of Naval Intelligence that convinced me that extraterrestrials were real. And I really believed that. And when I first came public, of course, I told everybody what I saw in those documents. And I told them I didn't really know the reality of it, but that's what the documents said, and I had no reason to question those documents. But John, when I first really began doing real research and quit believing what I saw and what people told me, and really started digging into it, the first thing that I found when I did a computer search of documents in a library for anything about extraterrestrials or other species from other planets or anything like that, it popped out a document from 1917, which was the text of a speech given by John Dewey to the Japanese imperial delegation headed by Viscount Ishii in New York City. And the first thing out of his mouth, the first sentence in the speech was, and I printed this in the appendix of my book, was, quote, "Someone once told me that the best way to unite all humanity in a one-world government and do away with wars forever is if we were attacked by some other species from some other planet," unquote. And that was like somebody hit me between the eyes with a sledgehammer. And I felt that all through my body. I was just shaken to the core. And here I was looking at the evidence that somebody had thought of doing this as far back as 1917. And I knew instantly that they had the technology to make us all believe it if they wanted to. And then I began going back and looking at, when did all this start? Why, John, it started the minute that President Truman signed the United Nations Treaty and the Senate passed and Truman signed the UN Participation Act. And the first man who reported flying saucers was an ex-intelligence officer flying in a plane up in Washington who saw, or says he saw, 9 disc-shaped craft come out of Canada and then go back in the same direction. And he described them as inverted saucers. And of course the press picked this up and called it flying saucers. Now if you go back like I did and researched the newspaper headlines of the day, they were all talking about the United Nations being the salvation of mankind and that all man would come together in one world government and there would be no more wars. And then you see Hollywood begin to crank out all the flying saucer movies, and what's the most famous one? No, The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Sure.
The classic of classics, and it's about a man from another world who comes here with a message of peace, and he's surrounded by guns, and he's shot, and the message was simply that we have to have a one-world government and do away with guns and arms and national boundaries. And that's been the message ever since. Have you ever attended a Stanton Friedman lecture?
No, I haven't.
I'll have to send you a tape. In his lectures now, he includes a portion about how the world has to come together and unite as one, and we have to get rid of all weapons, and that the world should be ruled by a council of wise men. It's the same old utopian story that the Illuminati's been preaching throughout the history of the world. And it's impossible to bring about because man himself is flawed. What do you think about all this?
Oh, I think you're correct. I just disagree with the one world government. I'm not going for it myself.
Well, it can't be good because we're being manipulated into it instead of being allowed to be a participant in what it's going to be or how it's going to come about. We're being herded like a flock of sheep or cattle, which reminds me, I've stopped calling people anymore. They're sheeple in my vocabulary, at least the ones who aren't awake yet. The ones who are awake are heroes in my eyes. I laud them, I appreciate them, all my efforts are in their directions, and hopefully if we all work together we can wake up more of the sheeple and turn them into real people. I hope. John, if there were something that you would, well, let me put it another way. Inside each and every one of us, there's something that we want to do more than anything else in the world. What is that for you?
Bill, before I die, I want to be able to go to Carl's Jr. and drive up there and order a Carl's original hamburger and not have them ask me if I want a piece of cheese on it.
Not bad. Not bad. What do you think about the cattle mutilations, John?
Well, as you know, Linda Howe, who did wrote Alien Harvest for the CBS affiliate in Denver, and I did a few field trips together, and was able to talk to her quite a bit about it, and thought I knew a lot about it. It's been very interesting. It's been going on for quite some time. It's obviously possible that we have the technology to do that. I suspect everything and everybody. Who's really doing it, I don't know. Why they're doing it, I don't know. I kind of suspect that AIDS comes into the question somewhere. But the more I find out that the less I know.
That's exactly what has happened to me.
For every question that I have answered, that I have found the answer to, there's been 20 more questions posed.
Yeah.
So now I'm almost hesitant to have a question answered because it just raises 20 more questions.
Well, you know, Arizona is one of the greatest experimental grounds for helicopter development in the country. Were you aware of that?
No.
They actually build Apache helicopters down in southern Arizona, and there's many times in Arizona you see flights of helicopters, all different types of helicopters. Recently there's been an awful lot of black unmarked helicopters with dark windows. You can't even see in the things, but they're apparently able to change the density of the windows from light to dark at will, because you can see the same helicopter as it flies. The windows will either become opaque or clear. I don't know how they do that, but I guess it could be done with some pigment that changes color with the stimulus of electricity or heat. I don't know. But coming back from visiting my parents in Texas, we were driving up Route 666 near the Roosevelt Reservoir, and my wife and I both witnessed two helicopters flying. Couldn't have been more than 70 or 80 feet above the ground, and they were bobbing up and down according to the terrain. In other words, they obviously had terrain following radar, and they had the helicopter on automatic pilot, so it was following the exact contour of the terrain. And it was amazing to watch this, and they passed no more than 100 feet in front of the car across the highway, and they made not one sound, no noise whatsoever. Now, I'd heard rumors that there were helicopters that made no noise, and this was the first time that I had ever seen helicopters that made no noise. But these were helicopters. They were military helicopters, and they made no noise whatsoever. So I know that